Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for joining me for another episode of Designer Highlight. And I'm kind of like experimenting with lenses, so if this kind of looks a bit strange, let me know in the comments below. I'd like to know. I'm just kind of like switching it up, maybe, I don't know, becoming a little bit more artsy, I don't know. School is starting up, like universities, and that's like the opportunity of like new designers kind of upcoming, and maybe they just don't know who they are, they're trying to find themselves. And so I wanted to do this video because I so happened to know quite a lot of people who just graduated from university and are just bursting to give like their wise wisdom and their wise ideas and their their experiences so far. So today I wanted to interview Hayley Irving, who is a newly graduate designer, who is a jewellery designer, of course. But she was very interesting to me. She was like all over Instagram, and she came from the same university as me, Duncan Of Jordanstone. And I don't know, her pieces just look very interesting. I can show you a clip here. And yeah, I don't know, from like even this image, like you can see that it looks very edible, not gonna lie. Like when I first seen this I was like, yum. But yeah, no, she uses quite interesting materials of like jasmonite, and I also liked her idea or her concept of it being costume jewellery and something that's like very semi, like not very like precious, or it's precious to her as well. It's like there's more personal story to her for this kind of like style of jewellery, and more of a narrative. And she said that she believed in having like more more materials, or using more materials that are like not as precious, such as like she doesn't like using gold or like kind of silver, or like kind of like that kind of thing, like to highlight that. She would more like to use like semi-precious materials, like they did back in like the 70s or the 60s, where they had the clip-on jewelry, kind of like costume jewelry. And yeah, it's quite prevalent in her pieces today. And yeah, I just think that it's just generally interesting, and I wanted to show a different perspective of different designers and their opinions. So I don't know if anybody else who's like a new student would get this kind of like advice, then it's just a good sort of chat between me and Hayley. So yeah, without further ado, here is the talk between me and Hayley Irving. Here we go. Thanks for like joining me today. What's made you want to pursue your career in jewellery?
I did textiles at college before I went on to do jewellery. I don't know, I think I wanted something different. Like I've always accessorized, and I've always like wore kind of over the top costumey jewellery anyway, and I think I just got a bit fed up of doing textiles. I think it was just like the same repetitive process. So I got into first year, so I did the general course at DGCAD, and then materials led maker designer. Like I kind of don't really know what I'm ever going to make until I have like materials in front of me, and I think that's kind of how I got into jewellery, I suppose, because I'm just like excited by materials, as nerdy as that sounds. Like I just love like making stuff and putting stuff together, and I think that's how I eventually ended up doing jewellery.
Ah, nice. Yeah, because I recognize like your earrings, because you have so much color going on, and it's really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. And I remember that you said that you did costume jewellery, and it made you like, it kind of reminded you of like your home. But what made you decide to go down the path of like the costume jewellery, I suppose?
I always think like before I did jewellery as well, like obviously they don't really tell you about other materials you could use. Like you always just think, oh, it's gold or silver, and to me that was never really, I don't know, it doesn't really excite me in the same way that other materials do. And I think I kind of want everyone to be able to afford a piece of jewellery. So I think like regardless of what it is, or like I always just wanted people to be able to afford to accessorize themselves. To like, it doesn't matter where you're from, because I came from that background where I grew up in a really deprived area of Glasgow, and like we had money, but obviously other people around us just, I seen poverty and stuff like when I went to school. And for me, I suppose like the colour of like dressing up was a kind of escapism from like all that. So I just, in my head, I always wanted like people to be able to afford like a handmade piece of jewellery. So that's kind of why I use the materials that I do. Because they're kind of inexpensive, but you can make them look cool. You can like accessorize them up. You can just, I suppose, dress your personality. I guess that's what I'd like people to do, and that's what I do. So that's why I did that.
That's nice. Yeah, and I still I like the concept of that. Just like you're using like inexpensive, I guess like materials, and it's very like nostalgic, because I remember seeing some of your degree show pieces. I don't know, it reminded me of like, you know, the childhood aspect where, you know, you clip on those like kind of fake jewelry you get from the shops. I thought it was quite nice.
So I think I suppose it always has been materials for me, but I think we kind of live in a very wasteful society now. Like you can just go into, I don't know, Topshop, H&M, and you can pick up a pair of earrings for £5-6, and then people just throw them away and stuff. But to me, I always looked after my jewellery as if it was kind of precious, like regardless of how much money it was. So I guess that's where that idea came from too. And I take the gemstones and stuff that I use are actually recycled from old like costume jewellery. And like all the bits and pieces that I pick up are just things that people have given me or I've found. So I just like the aspect of like recycling things and thinking about like where the materials actually have come from, I suppose, and instead of making something new, like you can make something new out of something old kind of thing. So yeah, that's where all that came from as well.
And I think there's something quite interesting about how most jewelers they pride themselves on like aesthetics, and you know the jewelry industry, they embrace like sort of what it looks like and the outside, and as you said before, like they use a lot of like silver and gold, but yeah, with yours it's quite like meaningful, and I feel like like what do you how do you perceive like maybe your jewelry, like what does your jewelry mean to you, and what does the power do you think holds to other people?
I don't know, it was always quite nice at uni because I sat like right up the back and my desk was just always so bright and there was always just stuff there, and it was so nice when people walked past and they were like, oh, I really love, like your desk makes me so happy, like it's so bright, it's so colourful. And I think I just want to, I suppose, give joy to people through like wearing jewellery, and yeah, the colours, I just want to give a little bit of joy to people when they're wearing stuff. Like my degree show pieces were quite personal, and I know like they were never going to sell, like but to me they just meant a lot, because I did it about like growing up in a very strong woman tenement household in Glasgow, and like the precautions of that, and like how my mum and gran never gave up regardless of like the situation. So and I use like my family photos and stuff, but now I'm kind of translating it more into like a commercial kind of thing, like using what I know and what I do, but like making it more sellable, which is quite nice as well.
Yeah, but I also think that like at the same time it's quite important to like stay like true to yourself. I like this is what I kind of like really liked about your pieces, that had this like narrative about it, and I feel like, you know, you really had like a story to tell, and I think that's something, I don't know, like obviously it's up to you, but like I really like that like aspect, and if there's a way that you can sort of like, I don't know, like share like your story in a also at the same time a commercial way, that would be quite nice.
I definitely will come back to that. Like just now I'm just having like the freedom of kind of just doing things and stuff, but I think at the start of 4th year I was very in my head like I need to make stuff to sell, I need to do this just because people will buy stuff, and I think that's kind of what everyone else kind of had in their mind. But then I just got to the point, like, why am I actually making this relatable to other people? Like, it's my work and it's what I want to do, and if people like what they see, then I can easily adapt it into making things for them, like their photos or their narrative. And I made a nice little book to go along with stuff as well, so it'd be nice to, I don't know, I think I will definitely come back to it. I'd quite like to speak to other people and kind of do things like speak to them and how they grew up and like kind of from the same area as well. I think that would be quite nice to make stuff for other people too that way. Because it's quite nice to have something to work off instead of just making stuff with no purpose, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. I really like that aspect, just having this purpose of like, you know, feel good, I guess. And also I like the fact that I guess like your jewellery is made from, like, there's some jasmonite aspects to it, and I think I remember on your Instagram that I think some people said that it looks like you could like eat it. And I don't know, maybe tell me about like that kind of aspect, like what made you decide to use like jasmonite?
I was always like, in second and third year, I was like, okay, I really want to do resin, like I'll do resin, like that's me. And then I went to work with Jo Padelka, I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah, I know, yeah.
I was with her for a week and she kind of introduced me to it, and it's such a nice material to work with. Like resin, it's so sticky and it's kind of horrible and it goes really hard, and I suppose it's not very environmentally friendly in the sense, obviously because it's plastic. But jasmonite, it's still got like plastic compounds, but it's more eco-friendly in a way, and it just feels so nice. And I kind of feel like once you've poured it, and then that's it kind of done, and it just looks good. But sometimes it doesn't, obviously. But and you can do the same to jasmonite as you can to resin. So you can add colours, you can like make molds and stuff for it, and then pour in the jasmonite. So I just think it was an easier material and quite a nice material to work with as well, because I did quite a lot of acrylic stuff in third year, and then I just kind of went off it, I think. But then I went just finding materials, like I used quite a lot of wood as well that I've just picked up from places. So it's just kind of what I find, really. I'm kind of a hoarder of things, so if I see something nice, I'll just pick it up and I'll use that for something. Like I don't really throw things away. Nice. But yeah, that's kind of, Jo Bedell kind of introduced me to jasmonite, and then I started working with it. I've continued to do, and I probably will always continue to use some materials like, oh, that's just waste rubbish, or like nobody would want that, but to pick it up and then turn it into something that would be worth having is quite nice as well. And I think that's kind of what drives me. Like the bits of wood and stuff that I picked up were just horrible bits of wood I found on the beach or something. And then I coloured them and then I worked them in with what I was doing, and it just kind of brought a new life to them. So I like the idea behind turning something that was once loved into something new, and that way I suppose kind of make do and mend kind of
I like that.
situation. Because I think that obviously comes from like where I grew up as well. Like you kind of cherished what you had a bit more. So that's, I suppose, turning something that you find into something that people would like or like to look at and get joy of looking at it is quite nice.
Yeah, sure. No, but I like that. Like something that you once that was once like loved, and then it turned into something else. I think that's a very like nice way of putting it. I think that now, I guess like this time, like there's a lot of people that are starting like university and art school especially, like and I know like I mean both of us can like sort of like like know the feeling of like, you know, when you first start you just don't know what your style is, and like maybe it's just like trying to experiment like who you are and as a designer or maker, or like what your material is. Like what would you say to like students now, like about maybe like their style, or if they want to find themselves and help?
I suppose just kind of stick to who you are. I don't know about you, but like for me, I found fourth year really difficult. Nobody ever really liked what I was doing, and there was always something wrong. There was never really anything nice to say about it, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And because that's their opinion doesn't mean that somebody else would like it. Like, they're one opinion in a matter of how many other people. So I suppose just stick to your guns. I kind of knew that I didn't really like working with metal since second year. Like, we had that resin workshop, and then I think that was it. Like, I just knew that I liked other materials. I like doing things with other materials. Like, and people work with metal and they know that's what they want to do, and that's fine. But for me, I just didn't get that same excitement as like mixing stuff off and like putting stuff together, and that's quite nice, that aspect. So if you don't really know what your style is, you get so many workshops as well. So you will eventually figure out like what you like to do and who you want to be as a designer. I knew I wanted to work with alternative materials, but when I got to fourth year, I suppose I really found out what I want to do and like the story and the narrative and why I was doing what I was doing. So it is a long process, but you will get there eventually.
For sure.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that little kind of chat. It was quite interesting to hear her perspective as well. Again, she's a new graduate, she's still trying to find her feet, but hopefully you guys could empathise with her and you know, even if you are also a new graduate student, you can like understand the sort of like things you need to deal with if you're a current student. That's what you have to look forward to. Even though you've got a journey to being in like university and finding your style, the lesson is to be learned that your style is never set, it always changes. You become more like matured. So yeah, hopefully you guys have got something out of that. And comment below if you are a new student, and I'd like to hear about your experiences so far, or if you're a current student, you know, what problems have you ran into? I'd quite like to know. Might do a little video about that. Yeah, and I don't know, I'd like to know, and maybe I can give you some advice, give you some other people's advice, some other input, whatever you like. So yeah, like, comment and subscribe. It's really important that you do that because it gets my videos seen, and I'd really love the support. And yeah, I think there's lots to do with this little channel. Have some great ideas. So yeah, keep me supported, and as long as you guys keep me supported, I'll still make these videos regardless. So yeah, videos to my left, probably your right, I don't know, like this side, we've got like last episodes of Designer Highlight, Design 101, check out that if you are, you know, if you want to sort of do more designs, find out that. And then, you know, some other videos to hear if you've missed last week's video, where I speak about my opinion on the jewellery industry, and that's just small, but yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys next week. And yeah, stay creative, always be innovative, and keep reimagining, guys. All right, bye.